Hello and welcome wherever you're listening to and watching 2020 Coaching Convos. Passionately curious, as usual, with me, Julie Crabb. It's 2025 and I'm still doing what I love, connecting with others by hosting conversations with guest coaches, as well as continuing in the pursuit of learning. And in this series 3, which sadly is coming towards the end, we're hearing about passions and interests of coaches, what fires them up, what gets them excited, what keeps them learning and exploring. And as I've always said, it's such a good opportunity for us to learn from the passions to apply things to our own coaching practice. So this week, my guest is yet another person who I met through Sarah Urquhart. She's such a great networking person. And we were on the same NLP training program with Sarah. And we also continued to meet on the NLP WhatsApp group meetings that this person set up, and which I know are so valued by the group members. And we've also recently been sharing business development ideas and knowledge. So she's a qualified coach and NLP practitioner and has what I consider to be a pretty unique niche of coaching, which I know we're going to hear all about. So welcome, 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 Renata Czaja.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for inviting me over.
You're so welcome. So welcome. It's really nice to finally get you on one of my podcasts. So, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I have to say I'm a bit nervous because we're talking about intentional dating. So I have to say you have had plenty of podcast days before me. That's my
Oh,
first one.
good one. I like that. Yeah. Yes, I've been a bit of a flirt on these podcasts, actually. I've been, how do they say it? Kind of like a bit, I can't think of the word. I've been bouncing around different podcast hosts, haven't I? So, yeah. But it's really good to see you again. And before we actually get talking about your passion for passion, I guess, um, let's talk a bit about how you got into coaching first of all, then, Renata. How did you come to be a coach?
It's a long story. I'll try to shorten it with some main points. I
Okay.
never planned to become a coach. I um I used to be a teacher and I loved it. I loved helping students grow. However, life took me in a different direction, so I moved to UK and I got a corporate job. I, after a while, it got very stale and it was very routine as well. So I felt really stuck and frustrated because I missed what I had before. And also at the same time, my relationship ended. So that added to this whole feeling of unhappiness as well. And you know how breakups tend to, or an emotional event tends to make you reevaluate your life and look at everything that you're doing and question. So that was a moment where, because I felt I was not growing, I wanted to make a change. I wanted to do something else, but I didn't know what. So I decided that for 2 months, I signed up for live events in London. Every weekend, I went to a different event.
Wow.
And it took me out of the house, not to sit at home being heartbroken and thinking about my ex, but it also took me out of my comfort zone because I was around people, I was talking to people, listening to other people's stories. So it was really interesting as well. So I put myself out there. I did property investing course, I did business seminars, I did forex trading. So I wasn't quite sure if anything was for me, but I wanted to try. So I just went exploring. And one weekend it was a coaching sorry, it was a coaching live event, the weekend event. And they taught us grow model. And the following weekend, when I was at a different event, I spoke to someone, used what I remembered from the life coaching event. And that person called me a couple of weeks later to say that conversation made a real difference in my life. So that actually showed me the magic of coaching, how powerful it was. And so looking back at that time, it's not I would say it's not always about knowing what you want to do, but exploring what you could do. And this is what we teach in what we actually do as coaches as well. So it's testing lots of different things, which shows you maybe which direction you want to go.
Mm.
So, I signed up for a life coaching course, and I did NLP practitioner as well, like you mentioned. And here I am.
Yeah, amazing. I can't believe that I've known you so long and I haven't heard that full story before about how you got to where you are. And I think it's really important that people hear that about us because I think sometimes when we see people in like support intervention or service, you kind of assume that person is in a perfect place. But quite often we've come from places that have taken us to find support ourselves in order that we can offer that support back to other people. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't always know what we want to do. Like lots of people can relate to that. We we just know we want to change something, but we don't know what. We just feel stuck. We don't know which direction to go. So it's worth exploring different things just to learn what you want
Mm,
to.
yeah, couldn't agree more. Brilliant. So let's go on and talk about your passion then. And I know this is your particular niche for coaching. So tell us first, who do you work with then, Renata?
So, I work with women who I work with two types of women.
Okay.
I should say probably a caveat now because everything that I will say today is I will be talking from a woman's perspective as well, just because mostly I work with women.
Mhm.
However, lots of things will relate to men as well because they will have their own fears, insecurities, and you know goals as well. So I'll be talking from a perspective of women.
Sure.
So I work with women who have been out of a dating scene for a while and they don't know where to start. They don't know how to navigate it now. So they could have been out of the dating scene because they have been prioritizing their career, or they got divorced after a long marriage, or they needed time to recover after a serious breakup. So they all wonder if love is even possible for them.
Hmm.
And
Wow.
also, I work with women who actually have been dating but getting nowhere. So they're going on lots of dates, leading to nothing. They're stuck in this frustrating cycle of dates and are going for the wrong guys. They're feeling exhausted and they just wonder if it's ever going to work for them.
Mm.
So I help women who feel like that just
Do
to.
you know what, as you describe those two, as you said, types of women, I can think of lots of people in my life who I know have either been in, of course, been in that situation or are in that situation. And I know I've been in that situation myself too. Long time ago now. We've talked about my pioneering dating, which maybe will come up later on. But I know you've called this intentional dating. So can you describe to us what does that mean? What is intentional dating?
So intentional dating is approaching your love life with clarity and purpose. So it's not going with the flow, going on, for example, dating apps and seeing what's out there and hoping that things will magically work out. So if you date intentionally, you are clear about what you want, who you are, who you want, and you make choices to reflect those goals. Um, just as an example, so you don't chase fleeting chemistry. If you decide that you want to have a long-term relationship, you will say no to someone who wants something casual.
Hmm.
So you stick to whatever you decided would be your vision for your partner, for your relationship, for your love life in general. So you honor your needs and you are deliberate with that. So
Mm.
an example, someone who dates intentionally would be if if you speak to a guy and he texts you very erratically or cancels the dates or changes plans often, someone who doesn't do intentional dating will actually go on a second date just because maybe they're attractive. Just for that reason. Someone
Hmm.
who does intentional dating, who wants to date with a purpose, consciously, they will actually observe and think, okay, those are the red flags. That's not, if someone is not consistent, is not reliable, that's not the person for me because I know what kind of person I want.
So intentional dating is not about just waiting and seeing who becomes attractive to you in the life that you currently live, but actually going and seeking people who you think are in that vision of the kind of person that you want to be with. Have I got that right?
Yes, some of it. It's knowing who you actually want. So you will actually decide, okay, this is the type of person I want. This is the type of relationship I want. So if you go out and meet people, you see if they align with that vision of who you want.
Hmm.
You will not settle for less because you don't want to waste time and energy or someone who is just attractive because that's just superficial. You look for other traits as well because you know this is important to you.
Hmm. Okay, that makes good sense. And as you were talking, I was thinking this is about people who want change in their life and quite significant change. Um, in your experience, actually, two things came to mind, Renata. One was some of this is going to be about people saying no, isn't it? And from some of us, saying no can be hard. Is that part of the conversation that you have with people sometimes?
Yes, so that's something that I actually have included in my program because it's dealing with rejection. It's not only it works both ways. So one
Sure.
of the things, for example, that you should have in terms of your mindset is not taking rejection personally. And rejection works both ways because we give rejection to someone. So be kind about that. But also we receive rejection as well. And if you don't take it personally, it means that because there's nothing wrong with you, just because someone said no, it's their preferences, it's their opinion, and it does not have any reflection on your worth. You're
Mm.
just not the right match. That's all there is.
Hmm. And in the course of you working with somebody around intentional dating, um, is it ever the case that they've got a vision for somebody that or a type of person that they want to be with, and then that changes as they get to know themselves better or they go through the process of dating? Does that happen?
That is actually a great question, Julie. Yes, because very often we start at the quite a surface level, or like we come with some ideas. Okay, I want a tall guy with blue eyes from finance sector who's kind and generous. And it's not that. We look for other traits as well. So we also have to look at someone's behavior. It's not only about words, it's about their actions. And but along the way, we learn how to set boundaries, how to communicate our standards. Um, and by knowing them ourselves, we can recognize them in other people as well. So it goes deeper than just, a surface level of, I want a handsome guy, and that's it.
Mm. And earlier you said, some of this is about not wasting time doing things that are not going to get you where you want to be or with the people that you want to be. Um, what are the common mistakes that you find people make when they start dating or they begin dating again?
So I'll give you a couple. I'll give you a couple because there's quite a few that we go through as well. But so one of the things, for example, is confusing chemistry with compatibility. So someone is very attractive, you find someone attractive, they give you butterflies, that doesn't mean that this is the right person for you, because red flags can be exciting as well. But this is just one piece of a puzzle, attraction. That's why we go to a deeper level, because we look at also the traits that are important to us, like kindness, honesty, consistency. Um, so if you what you really want in a partner beyond physical attraction, if you take away chemistry, ask yourself a question, is there anything else left? Do you have good conversations? Do you trust that person? Can you rely on that person? Are they curious about you? Are they asking about you? Do they want to get to know you as well?
Mm.
So that's one of the things. I would say maybe as well getting emotionally involved too early. So you go on a date, for example, and then you think, I've spoken to this person for a while. He seems great. And I've already invested time in it and energy. So it means I am invested. So then you go on a date and you try to mold that person, the image of that person that you created in your head. So you try to create that person into the image you have in your head. And then instead of being on date one and looking at the person in front of you, you are already in your mind on date number 4, 5, 7, planning
Oh
your
my
holidays, for example.
God.
So it's seeing the potential in someone instead of who is in front of you. That's one of the mistakes as well. So see people for who they are, who they show you who they are as well. And the other thing that I've noticed as well is, I would say, stop complaining to your friends about your dating life as well. Why? Because very often when we tell our friends about our dating endeavors, what do friends do? Meaning really well. Oh, poor you. Oh, it's yeah, I know. All men are awful. All women are like that. It's really they commiserate with you, which leaves you in this negative energy still, because we generalize, we hear stories from our friends as well, so they keep you in this negative energy, and then you go on a next date with the attitude of, oh my God, yet another one. It's like, what's going to come out of this? Like, all men are awful. There's no point of doing this. So you have to let go of this thinking as well. So either change people who are around you or just stop complaining to them, because it's all about you and what you want, and learning from this as well.
So I'm starting to hear that this is a lot about understanding qualities and, your own qualities and the qualities of other people that you're seeking. Um, and I'm trying to think, how can I weave NLP into this? Because I know there's something around, sometimes we look for similarities and sometimes we look for differences. Um, is there anything you can say about that you think might be a mistake or a good or a tip that would be good for people?
From NLP perspective.
Or just kind of thinking about, what do we tend to seek? Do we tend to look for people who are like us, or do we tend to look for somebody who's got a difference who can complement our qualities?
Oh, yes. Okay. So I think we tend to look for people who are like us.
Hmm.
Obviously, we get along better. You want someone who has similar interests to you, because you can do things together.
Hmm.
Someone who values, for example, whose interests are, for example, if we want to, you like going traveling. So you want someone who likes traveling as well, because otherwise you'll have to go on holiday by yourself. Um, I'll give you an example from a date that I went to. I went on a date with someone who was, as it turned out, into very extreme sports.
Okay.
I am sporty, but not to such a level. So I had to stop there and just think, okay, that's not the person for me, because I will not be able, first of all, to keep up with something like that. But second of all, I did not have that much interest in this. So it was just not aligned with what I was looking for. So I
Yes,
think most of the time we look for people who are similar to us rather than very opposite.
yes. So then next question that comes to my mind is about apps. Um, and I don't know much about dating apps, but just very quickly, good
Mhm.
thing or bad thing?
Apps themselves are not a bad thing if you think about them as this is just a tool to get us somewhere. And if you
Mm,
know how to use the tool, then you're fine. However, apps have got a really bad reputation because of the culture, like on the apps, what people do on the apps. So
hmm
app itself is not bad, but people have lots of people have love and hate relationship with dating apps. You get on the app, you start swiping, and then there's no one interesting, or you start talking. There's lots of talking about the culture. There's lots of ghosting, lots of love bombing. It's almost like you have to be really tough
mm,
to get on the dating apps. But if you have enough emotional resilience that you work on, you understand who you're looking for, then it's easy to filter through all that noise.
mm,
If you have the intention, the purpose, it's way easier instead of just mindlessly swiping nonstop and just seeing
mm.
what's out there.
And I guess if you know what you're looking at and what to look out for, in the
Yeah.
red flags, as you were talking about earlier, some of it tells you about the behavior of the person who is using the app as well. I must tell you, actually, I saw quite a funny image on Facebook. I think it was only a couple of days ago, and it was just the picture of the front of a pub, and it had a sign outside with an arrow and the words 3D Tinder with an arrow towards the pub. Yeah. So,
People put lots of all sorts of photos, all sorts of profile descriptions there. But I would say one thing though, if you don't put actually profile description there, if you think like from a woman's perspective, there are lots of profiles of men who put just height. If you
okay.
think this is something that's a representative of a kind of person you are,
Mm,
that's not good enough.
hmm
It really is not. It doesn't say anything about you as a person.
Yes, like you were saying earlier, that's incredibly surface, isn't it? And not
Yeah.
about the qualities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing it shows like, okay, either you don't think that high of about yourself, pun intended at all.
Good one, I like that.
But the other thing is like, what do you think about women as well? If you think they will only pay attention to just your height,
hmm
there's
Mm,
this, then there is more to you than just your height.
yes, we would hope so, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the other kind of concept I've heard you talk about before is this idea of healthy dating mindset. What
Mhm.
can you tell us about that?
I think healthy dating mindset starts with focusing on what you can control, your own actions, and your energy levels. So it's not obsessing, for example, at the very early stage. Will he call back? Why didn't he respond to my text? What's wrong with me? What is he thinking? It's investing at the right time as well. So it's not over investing at the early stage, like I mentioned earlier. Um, the other thing would be approaching dating with curiosity, not out of fear, or not out of the need to avoid loneliness, because that way you don't settle for less. That way you will not ignore the red flags.
Mm,
Um, Also, dating is, I know everyone wants to find love. People don't want to date, but it's a necessary stage to finding love. And dating takes time. Finding love takes time, and dating is a process, so it's not a race. So it's very easy to feel impatient. Um, but if you try to enjoy a dating a little bit, so trying to find joy, trying to be curious, making it a bit fun for yourself as well. That way, you will avoid certain things that will get you nowhere.
mm. Yeah, that's interesting. Two words have come to my mind. I like what you said about being curious. rather than having, I suppose the other word that came to my mind was about shopping. It feels a bit like I have these particular needs for the recipe of the person that I'm gonna, create. I'm going shopping, but if you remain curious, you might actually find a different dish or a different ingredient that perhaps hadn't occurred to you that you find attractive.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And it's
Mm.
like speaking of shopping, like think about going shoe shopping. You will not go for the first pair you try on. And you want to try a few different pairs as well. That's one thing. But also if one pair doesn't fit, you are not blaming yourself. It's just the pair that doesn't fit. So you will go out and explore more.
Mhm.
So I think what there's one more thing I would add as well to the mindset is also having the sense of self. So having a life outside of dating. So having a great life apart from dating, because otherwise you will just have sole focus on dating. And if you have something else apart from that, that makes you even more interesting. That makes you more attractive. If you have your interests and passions,
Mm.
because you have something to talk about. You might even meet someone while doing those interests and passions. So having something else and not solely focusing on dating is important as well.
Mm. That really resonates for me because and from my perspective, I think that's true of finding that relationship too, that you can't expect that one person to satisfy
Mm.
all of your needs. You, you are a person other than a partner or a wife or a husband or a lover or whatever. You have other
Yeah.
parts to you that need fulfilling
Yeah,
too.
you are your whole person as well. It's like you are the sun, the other person is the sun, and then you just come together. But when this sun goes away, you still shine,
I like that. That's a
don't
really
you?
nice metaphor.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's a very unique universe with two suns. So maybe. Okay. Renata, I'm just conscious of the time, and I want to make sure that we have time to talk about the program that you're starting to develop. And I know that you're really keen for people who are curious about getting into dating to know a little bit about. So, yeah, share with us a bit about that.
You, yes, yes, I'm very excited about that. So, it's got three pillars. It's all through the whole experience that I've had with my clients and myself as well, and all the learnings along the way. It's almost like you can divide it into past, present, and future. So with past, we look at the past in terms of past relationships. What can we learn from the choices you made back then? So there's no judgment as such. It's just looking back and thinking, for example, you stayed in you stayed in a relationship longer than you wanted, or you should have. Why? What made you stay? What drew you to that person? How did it end? So looking at the past relationship from that perspective, so looking at some patterns, emotional triggers, what's the learning from that? Then also in terms of past as well, we look at um, self building self-esteem as well, because very often when you date, when you want to start dating, like I said with the clients that I have after longer breaks, you lose self-esteem after breakups, after past relationships, or when it's not working well. So we look at what you've achieved so far, what your strengths are, what you represent yourself as well. So we
Mhm.
build that self-esteem and confidence up. So that's one pillar. Then present is working on what your needs are, what your boundaries are, how to set the boundaries, what your non-negotiables are, what your expectations are, how to recognize red, yellow, green flags,
Mhm.
how to build confidence. When it's very practical as well. So when you go on dates, I have a self reflective list of questions for after a date when you actually reflect back and think, okay, what was my energy? How did I feel? How did he make me feel? Like, what did I feel safe? Did I feel like he understood what I was saying? Did I feel interested? or did he feel interested? Did he sound interesting? Did he ask me questions? So all of that is just learning, collecting almost like data for the
Hmm.
present and thinking, okay, what else we need to work on? And then also future, the third pillar is how we envision our partner, our love life, our relationship in the future, and then focusing on that when we go on dates and trying to see if this thing that we want in our future aligns with the person, what the person's behavior is and what he says.
That sounds amazing. I can see why you're excited about delivering it. Um, how will it work? So if somebody's got curious from today and wants to get in contact with you, is there anything you can say about how you're expecting the program to work? Will it be online? Will it be group? Will it be individual?
Yeah, so the program is online at the moment. It's just one-to-one, and there's lots of interaction with me and lots of support from me, and then eventually I will create a group program as well.
Hmm. Fantastic. Sounds really good. And I'm sure we'll have masses of appeal to quite a range of people. Definitely your two types that you mentioned earlier on. Yeah, so Renata, if people want to get hold of you, either for this program or just to chat to you generally about intentional dating and a healthy dating mindset, how will they get hold of you?
They can just email me with, you can see my name and surname, so renata.czaja@yahoo.com. We'll put the
Okay,
link down at the bottom of the video as well.
brilliant. Yeah, we'll make sure that that's in the description, the episode description too. That's fantastic. Renata, I have really enjoyed my date with you today. It's been
Thank
it's
you.
been one of great curiosity. I've been fascinated by the things that you've got to offer, so thank you so much. Yeah, so sadly, we have come to the end of our time with Renata. It may be that we'll have to do a second podcast, I think, Renata, a second episode.
I would love that.
It has been fascinating, and it's such a broad topic, isn't it? I think.
Yes, we haven't covered half of what I wanted to say.
Yes, I'm
What I wanted
sure.
to ask you as well.
So yes, what we should do is encourage people who are listening and watching to post questions once it actually goes out, so that we can follow up on some of those things in another
Yeah, of
podcast.
course, great idea.
So yeah, my enormous thanks to you, Renata, for being my guest with passion about passion on 2020 Coaching Convos. And to anybody who's listening, the podcast followers, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and share and subscribe to it, and tell me what you want to hear more about in 2020 Coaching Convos with me, Julie Crabb. Till next time.